For most of my life, swimming was a huge part of who I was. I started swimming when I was 6 years old and spent years training on club teams and my high school's varsity swim team. But by the time varsity ended, I was honestly just burnt out and I was ready to retire the suit. Swimming had taken a huge physical and mental toll on me, and without goal times to chase, meets to train for, or a coach yelling at me to get in the water, it slowly disappeared from my life. In fact, I didn't swim at all for more than a year. I thought that chapter of my life was over. But recently, I've found myself missing it. So for 1 week, I decided to get back in the water. I wanted to see whether I still had it. And most importantly, I wanted to see if swimming was still a part of who I was, or if it was a chapter of my life that I had outgrown.
Got my cap and goggles. Literally, this is the only cap I had in my house because I brought my other caps to college. I'm pretty sure. About to get into the water right now. Oh my god! I can't believe this is actually happening, y'all. Like, get in the water.
If you guys are swimmers, then you definitely know the feeling of diving into the pool, starting to swim, and you just feel off. Like my feel for the water was just not there. Obviously, I expected this, but it just makes coming back after taking time off that much harder. There's a saying in swimming that if you take one day off, it takes you 2 more days to get back to where you were, and I took like 300 something days off, so yeah. At the same time, though, the moment I pushed off the wall and did my first flip turn, it kind of felt like I was right back in my competitive days again. But that's also not to say I wasn't completely exhausted and humbled by my first swim.
Hi guys. I'm still warming up right now, but basically the goal for today is trying to get my feel back for the water. So I'm gonna do 10 100s freestyle on 145, which I'm swimming meters. So for yards that would be 138. It's not crazy fast, but just trying to kind of build my foundation.
But for context, I used to swim something like this on roughly a minute 30, and I was able to make it very comfortably. Granted, this was meters, so 150 would translate into more like 143 for yards, but still, it's a lot slower than what I would use to swim. You really can't fake swimming, and it's one of those things where you're gonna get out what you put into it. Also, unlike other forms of exercise, there's no music, no one talking to you. It's really just you, your thoughts, and that black line at the bottom of the pool. And after spending a lot of time away from the sport, I also forgot how mentally challenging it was too. But at the same time, I also find it strangely comforting in a way, because as repetitive as swimming can get, there's something really peaceful about doing the same thing over and over. Push off the wall, swim a lap, turn, repeat. And it's kind of funny because I feel like my life recently has been pretty monotonous too, and kind of really staying in my own lane, no pun intended. And while part of me does, enjoy excitement and novelty once in a while or doing something spontaneous, I think another part of me just really enjoys the simplicity of life and just having a routine down. So, in a weird way, swimming felt familiar in that sense. To my surprise, things actually improved pretty quickly. By the second day, I was already swimming a lot faster than I was on day one. Even though I was a little bit sore, I felt like I was getting a lot of my aerobic base back, which is kind of crazy. I think a lot of that does have to do with the fact that I was lifting and going to the gym pretty consistently at school, so I had some sort of a baseline fitness to work off of. More than anything, though, I think it just reminded me that I feel like swimming will always kind of be a part of who I am, and no matter how long I'm away from the water, there's just a certain level of muscle memory that never really disappears, and I think my body has kind of been trained and knows what to do and can adapt pretty quickly.
The swimming wasn't terrible. Like, I actually wasn't dying as much as I thought I was going to, so that's good. But yeah, I did a little bit of lifting today too, because I would normally lift today, and that was like my primary source of exercise. I'm probably gonna be very sore tomorrow for whatever reason, either the gym or the swimming. But yeah, I didn't do anything too intense for the swimming today, at least like for my current level.
I don't know why I decided it was a good idea to go to the gym afterwards that day, because I was so sore the next morning.
Guys, I feel so sore today. I literally said I was sore yesterday, but I'm even more sore today. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I think honestly this was the first day that I really contemplated not going to the pool, because even though I felt like I was getting my feel back, the soreness was kind of just compounding throughout the week, and I think all the training was starting to catch up to me.
Guys, I feel really sore today. It's gonna be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I do not know how I used to swim like almost every day in high school, but you know, gotta push through. Definitely do a lighter workout today because I'm pretty sore and I don't want to dig myself in a deeper hole for tomorrow. I'm about to head out, so.
But if there's anything swimming has taught me, it's to show up. To show up when I'm tired, to show up when I'm sore, to show up to all those morning practices when it's pitch black outside and freezing cold, and all I want to do is go back to bed. Because the reality is that real growth only happens on the days where you don't feel like doing the thing, but you do it anyways. And that's really the mindset that I tried to carry with me on this day. Because even though I'm not training for anything super seriously, I think it's just the mentality from all of my years of swimming competitively, and also maybe this video holding me accountable too, that really got me onto the pool deck. I think that's also what makes swimming so mentally challenging too, is because the hardest part isn't always the workout itself, but making the decision to actually get in your car and drive to the pool, and once you're at the pool, making the decision to actually dive into the cold water.
Okay, surprisingly, I actually feel better after the workout. I pretty much just did like 10 100s freestyle again, but I decreased the time interval and I was actually able to make it pretty comfortably, which was a nice surprise. Honestly, going into it, like, I was just so tired that I was like, oh, maybe I should just take it easier today. But surprisingly, once I like kind of got into the flow of the set, it wasn't too bad. I do think I'm gonna switch it up tomorrow though a little bit, because I've been doing mainly like aerobic freestyle for the past 2 days. We'll see. I don't know why I like suddenly feel so tired.
And I guess no challenge is complete without a little bit of drama, because this is where things get interesting, so buckle up. Despite my soreness getting better, I started experiencing some shoulder pain during day 3 after I felt something sort of pop. At the time, it wasn't that bad, so I just swam through it. But then the next day, I got in the water and my shoulders instantly started hurting. I've actually dealt with chronic shoulder issues on and off since around junior year of high school, and it was one of the reasons I actually stepped away from swimming, because my shoulders just never quite felt right, and it just became very mentally and physically exhausting to manage it. So when the familiar pain creeped back in after only a few days, it was definitely frustrating. Not just because my shoulders hurt, but because it reminded me of all the times I was limited. But since I already did make the decision to go swimming, I decided to just do a kick set in order to let my shoulders rest a little bit while still being able to get in a workout. But even just holding the kickboard was making my shoulders burn, so at that point I just decided to scrap the rest of the workout after I had finished my kick set.
I just finished my set. I actually feel so tired, and like low-key my shoulders still hurt, to be honest.
After my shoulders started hurting, I kind of fell into this mental spiral again, which was like a similar mindset that I had back in the day. I started hyperfixating on my strokes and, watching the same videos over and over, trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. I was doing like a ton of research on why my shoulders were hurting.
Before the elbow, a little bit sooner.
And this will help to take some body stress off your shoulders. And this will...
And before I knew it, swimming started to feel stressful again and almost like a burden. Obviously, I knew a part of it was because I cared, but that also made me kind of wonder if I should care at all, because caring just felt so draining. And I think that's also part of what made dealing with the shoulder pain so exhausting. Back in high school, I had this mindset that rest was somehow a bad thing and that it was preventing me from achieving my goals, because on the one hand, I would feel so guilty about not being able to give my all during practices, but also on the other hand, I just physically couldn't keep up the way I wanted to. And especially as athletes, I think a lot of the times we are taught to kind of tough it out, but I think over time I've realized that there is a very fine line between discipline and running yourself into the ground. Today was one of those days where I really needed that lesson. So instead of trying to push through the rest of the workout, because honestly, guys, I really wanted to continue for the sake of the video as well, I just needed to listen to my body and just stop. And I think in general that's a lesson that I'm still trying to work on and apply to other areas of my life as well. I don't know why my shoulder was hurting so bad today, and I just don't really want to injure myself right now. I might have to take a couple of days off just to let it recover. I don't know if it's because I was sore. I don't know if it's because I just had shoulder problems for a long time. Because back when I used to swim every day and I had the shoulder problems, I was fine for the most part. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's causing it. Honestly, without my shoulders, I can't really do much in the pool. I could kick, but then I'd have to have my arms down by my sides, and it just limits a lot of what I can do in the water. So what is up, guys? It's currently Monday. So I took a couple of days off to let my shoulder recover a little bit, and today I'm gonna get back in the water and see how it feels. Currently 8:40-ish in the morning. It's low-key reminding me of morning practices in high school, although they were way earlier. They were at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. But after a few days off, I decided it was time to get back in the water. Honestly, I wasn't even sure if my shoulder was ready. Part of me was very jittery and kind of angsty to start swimming again, but another part of me was just very nervous that the second I start swimming that my shoulders would hurt again. I'm about to go in. I have already got my bathing suit under because I'm kind of a little bit late to my appointment. And because I had only swam 3 days before I decided to take 4 days off, it kind of felt like I was starting from square one again. So for this workout, I tried to take things slow. I wasn't concerned about my pace or any of my times. I was really just trying to get back into the swing of things, and my shoulders did feel better, although there was still a little bit of pain and some knotty feelings. So before and after practices on the last few days, I started incorporating a few mobility exercises just to keep my shoulders healthy and prevent any other injuries later on down the road, because I knew if I wanted to make swimming something I wanted to do long term, that I had to start implementing these healthy habits now. So even though day 5 went pretty well, I was still a little bit apprehensive going into day 6, and I think a part of me was still nervous about my shoulders hurting. And I feel like after dealing with the same issue for years, it's hard not to be a little bit cautious. Today I'm gonna be doing more of an IM focused practice. I'm gonna be doing all 4 strokes today, because I thought this wouldn't really be the full experience if I didn't do all 4 strokes. So that should be interesting. But to my surprise, this day actually ended up being one of the best days of the challenge in terms of just how I did, how I swam. Obviously, was my shoulder pain free? No, but just being able to see that measurable progress just made a world of difference in terms of my mentality.
I think it also just reminded me that this isn't a problem that I'm gonna be able to solve overnight.
And that maybe I could just, keep swimming and keep learning and just figure it out along the way. This was the second to last day of this challenge. I felt a lot better today than I did yesterday for sure. It was pretty good. I did like an aerobics set. I also did a little bit of IM work. I didn't think my shoulders were like recovered enough to do butterflies, so I just did like freestyle in place of butterflies. But it was mainly just to feel out different strokes, and I think tomorrow I might try to incorporate a little bit of fly depending on how my shoulders feel. Today was good. I think definitely getting back there, like I was able to make the times pretty well. So we'll see what tomorrow holds. On the last day, I really wanted to finish strong, so I actually did like my longest workout of the week, I believe, which was around 3,000 meters. This was definitely the most exhausted I've been after practice, but it almost felt like I was on the final lap of a race, and I just needed that final surge to get my hand on the wall. I think one of the most gratifying feelings is touching the wall after the final set, taking off your cap and goggles, and knowing that you showed up and did something difficult. And I think there's something incredibly satisfying about keeping the promises you make to yourself. But more than anything, I think despite all the ups and downs, I realized that going to the pool was genuinely something that I looked forward to. I think a big part of that was because for the first time in a while, I wasn't going swimming because I had to. There were no coaches pushing me to get in the water, no goal times I was trying to chase, and just no expectations that I was putting on myself. And while those goals gave me purpose and, I love the grind and having a drive, it also made it easy to forget why I fell in love with swimming in the first place. And I also think being able to swim on my own terms really put things into perspective as well when things didn't necessarily go according to plan. Okay, let's talk about the numbers first and probably the stuff you guys want to hear. But in total this week, I swam around 16,500 meters. At the start of the week, I was doing hundreds freestyle on a minute 50. And by the end of the week, I was able to lower that to 135, which I think is a pretty good drop. And then I also did a 50 freestyle timed, and I went around 31.5, which for yards would be equivalent to like 28. I don't have the footage because this was actually a timed session that I did while I was doing this challenge because I was also getting my lifeguard certification. Okay, and then let's talk about what I learned this week. First of all, it didn't take very long to answer the question of whether I still had it. The flip turns came back, my paces came back pretty well, and I think things started to feel familiar very quickly. On top of that, I was also just reminded of why I loved doing it in the first place. I love the feeling of being in the water. I love the rush of adrenaline that you get when you first dive into the pool. I love the feeling of finishing hard workout and knowing that, you showed up and did something difficult. And I just loved having 1 hour a day where all I had to focus on was the next lap. And despite all the chaos that might be happening in my life, that I just needed to focus on the task in front of me. But this challenge nonetheless also reminded me of the challenges that I used to face. Part of me hoped that I would come back to swimming and everything would just magically click again, but despite all of that, I also realized I didn't want to walk away from swimming again. Whenever I jump into the water, I'm reminded of myself at 7 years old, just learning how to swim and not really having a care in the world. I think that's a feeling that I really reconnected with this week and something that keeps me coming back. So even though I'm not entirely sure what my relationship with swimming is going to look like going forward, I do know one thing, which is that I don't think I'm ready to retire this suit just yet.